All right, here we go. I'm going to talk again about our planned move to Mexico. And the last time I talked, I don't know if this is in the right order or whatever, I guess it doesn't really matter. Last time I was down there, and it was kind of what me and my buddy John were doing to try to get the place ready in Pommel. This time, I'm back in Charleston, and I want to talk a little bit about sort of what we're doing to prep, what we've been going through, some of the stuff that's going through our minds, and how we get ready for a big life-changing move. So anyway, I guess here goes. I'll start with kind of what's going on sort of at the front of our brains for the last several months has been the sale of our house. Obviously something that you have to take seriously, and it's a lot of what we got that's funding our move here. So we're fortunate. We found our neighbors decided that they wanted to buy our home, so we're doing a private sale, which works out great for us. Save the 6% in realtor fees, and on top of that, they want to buy all the furniture that we don't want to keep or put in storage. So that's a huge time savings and like something that we don't really have to think about as much. However, I will say that there's a lot of thought that still goes into it because we bought a place that's pre-furnished and we're going to be traveling light and we only have so much space for storage. We're actually buying a 7-foot by 16-foot trailer, and we're going to put all of our belongings that we want to keep and personal keepsakes and stuff like that in that trailer. And fortunately, Wendy's sister and brother-in-law live on a farm, and they're going to let us park the trailer there. And it's outside of Nashville, so it's not in the saltwater air that we have here in Charleston, so that's a good thing. But anyway, one of the things that's been really hard is going through all the stuff that we've nested and accumulated over the various years and all the years, and determining sort of what makes the cut. Do you need this item still to remember a certain event or a certain person in your life? Is a question that we found ourselves asking about a lot of things, and we're paring down a lot. We're in a big house here, so that's been a question that we both had to ask ourselves quite a lot. Wardrobe items, obviously when we come back to the States, we're pretty much always going to be going to Nashville. There's a lot of family there, and that's a very different climate than Mexico. So a lot of our warmer stuff is going to go into the storage so that we can get it when we return. And on another thing that I've been really busy with, just over the weekend, we did a dry run of packing the truck with all of our containers so that we could see how much more we could actually bring. So we're driving down with a Toyota Tundra. It's a double cab, so we'll have our dogs, and in the back we'll have our clothes, some bedding, some towels, things like that. From what we read, the bedding that we can buy here is a lot better than what we can buy in Mexico, and also the beds aren't necessarily all the same size as they are here. So on the last trip down, I took some fitted sheets and made sure that the fitted sheets that we had here would actually fit our bed that we have there because it's a king size, and they did. So we know that we can buy good, high quality sheets here and take them with us, but we don't want to bring too much because of the weight and the space and the bulk of it. So, that's the kind of thing that we're thinking about. We're also going to bring some of our smaller kitchen appliances like food processors, and we've got a coffee maker that we love and a grinder that works great. So stuff like that is going to be packed up, and all that will be locked up in the back of the truck. And so we wanted to see how much space we were going to have for all that stuff and sort of do a dry run, check that out. One of the things that we're doing with all the stuff that we're packing is we're packing all of our stuff that's going to Mexico in clear totes, and we're packing all the stuff that goes to storage in, opaque or gray totes or whatever you want to call them. It helps for organizing what's going to go where. So the thought process is, as we list the items that will be in the clear totes that go to Mexico, not knowing exactly what to expect our border crossing, hopefully, when we have the lists that itemize all the items, maybe they'll go through a couple of totes, look at the list and say, okay, I can kind of see what's in this, and maybe it'll take a little less time. They won't have to go through as much of our stuff. If they do, they do. If they don't, then good. We save some time and maybe get to our first night's destination a little bit earlier. We've already had 2 garage sales, and we've got 1 more to go, and we've already given a bunch of stuff to Goodwill, and I'm sure there will be plenty more, because the stuff that isn't purchased, we'll just be getting rid of it. I mean, we've already kind of said goodbye to the stuff that's in the garage sale stack, if you will. Also today, I was busy thinking about some things like the license plate on my truck. If your vehicle isn't legal in the States, then when you get to Mexico, it's also would be illegal there. Same goes with your driver's license. So I got my new registration today, and as I was putting my new sticker on my plate, it occurred to me that the simple Phillips screws that hold it on here might not be sufficient for when we're going to Mexico, and who knows where we're going to be staying, and there might be some theft or somebody that might say, you know what, I could use an American plate and try to get across the border. So I'm going to be getting some security bolts to mount my license plate on my truck. It's just a little detail, but that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to really work out in advance now before we go down. I also have been doing a good bit of research about what we need to do for our dogs. We know that they need their vaccinations to be current and all that stuff, but there's some different information out there on the net about how current their certification letter or examination has to be from a certified vet stating that they're in good health. They have to have this certificate, and I read that it can't have any abbreviations. Everything has to be written out in full, so they can't just say like Jan 09 or something like that. It has to say like January 09, or even better would be 09 January, because that's their date format in Mexico. But anyway, what seems to be the most common knowledge or common perception of the most recent law in Mexico is that their inspection has to be done 10 days out. So I'm going to start looking for and calling vets in Austin, because that'll be sort of, I've got a cousin there that we're going to stay a few days with, and at that point we'll know that we're going to be close enough to our border crossing that we'll be within the 10 days for sure. So we'll get their shots done here, and then get copies of all of their vaccination records and their medical records and take them with us to provide to the examining doctor that will be in Austin, Texas. So we've also started planning the timing of our trip. We know when we're going to leave, and we know we're going to spend a couple days in Atlanta with friends, and probably 3 nights in Nashville with Wendy's family, and unloading unloading the trailer, as well as or parking the trailer and unloading some items that are going to stay with her sister in the house, and really just seeing folks and spending some good quality time. We're not really worried per se about the trip, but some people are for us, and I think that that's natural. The news has a different perception of Mexico than I think the Mexico that anybody who's spent some time there, is more familiar with. So anyway, we're going to spend some good time with them, and hopefully show them some pictures from our recent visits and sort of warm their hearts a little bit to what we're doing a little bit more. And then we're going to drive the Natchez Trace Parkway, and we've already booked a couple places to stay along that. We're going to stay in Tupelo, Mississippi, as well as in Natchez, Mississippi. So that'll be cool, and we're looking forward to that. It'll be a good for the dogs doing this long journey with us. It's a great path for us to take because there's a lot of short trails that we can stop and hike and really look at, some of the beauty along the way, but also give our dogs a chance to really get out and stretch their legs and not feel like they're spending, this massive amount of time in the car. So that hopefully will go very well. And then from Natchez, Mississippi, we'll go across to Austin, Texas, and spend some time with my cousin there, and hopefully there we will have the opportunity to see some good music before we head further south into Mexico, or Old Mexico as I like to call it. And then once we leave his house, then we'll go down to Laredo and spend one final night in Laredo before we wake up early and cross the border. So anyway, we started looking at that and looking at, our first few nights in Mexico and trying to really plan the trip out as best we can with a few stops that might be 2 or 3 nights, just to sort of explore a place and also take some of that burden of travel off of our dogs and ourselves. What else? Scanning and making copies of our passports, our marriage license and certificates, and filing our medical records that we can take with us. There's a lot of that sort of pre-planning that's going into it before we actually start loading up the trucks. And boy, I'm drawing a blank now. I guess I'll take a sip and see if something else comes to mind. Oh yeah. So I just bought the trailer. That should be coming maybe tomorrow. I might be able to go pick it up. And I've got a car appointment to go ahead and get my tires done and get a matching spare, a good quality matching spare done. I've already got in my truck a really good quality hydraulic jack that will allow me to change a tire very quickly and easily, and it's very sturdy and much safer than the typical jack that comes with a car. So that kind of stuff's, we're working on that kind of stuff. I've been researching Mexican. All right, back at it. Sorry about that. I ran out of storage and had to import some videos and clear my phone off because I'm a picture hoarder on my phone. So anyway, back to where I was. I've been researching Mexican phone plans, and from what I gather, there's basically 2 different types of phone systems. Right now we're with Verizon, which is the wrong type for what Mexico has, because most of theirs are GSM, which is what AT&T and Sprint uses. So the big 2 in Quintana Roo and the Yucatan are Telcel and Movistar, and both of those use GSM. When you have 4G, it doesn't really matter if you have the LTE service, but the LTE is way behind in Mexico than where it is here in the States, and the 3G is much more robust with the GSM than the CDMA, I think is what it's called, that Verizon, Sprint, and all the others use. So anyway, I've been researching phone plans, and I think I'm going to get a new phone that is a unlocked phone that I can buy pay as I go or monthly plan through T-Mobile. And then when I get down to Mexico, I should be able to get a SIM card and get a much cheaper phone plan that allows calling to and from the United States. We'll see if I'm able to keep my number. Don't know how that's going to go, but we'll see. Also, I've been looking into getting our mail forwarding service set up, and hope to have that done soon. It should give us a physical address here in the United States, but in addition to that, they'll receive our mail and then scan the outside of the envelope, and we can tell them, we'll look at previews and tell them whether or not we want it opened and then the content scanned, or if we just want it shredded or disposed of. And then I think finally, one of the last things that I'll talk about this evening that we've been working on, and I tested while we were down in Mexico. Wendy had her bank account through one of the larger banks, and I had my bank account through one of the smaller local sort of regional banks. Not small, but not as big as one of the big banks like she was using. And we both recently signed up with Capital One 360 for our banking. One of the big reasons for that is because in the places where you can use your cards in Mexico, your debit or ATM cards, which most restaurants you can't. It's mainly a cash-based economy, but you go to your grocery store or a bunch of places like that, or Walmart or wherever, they all take ATM or credit card. And both of our banks that we were using from our previous visits, we found out were charging us 3%, and I don't see any reason why we should add an additional 3% tax on ourselves by using their cards when we can find plenty of companies out there that are very reputable and capable that will allow us to spend our money in Mexico without charging us 3%. So anyway, we're swapping our bank accounts over, and I've already done that, and I tested it out while I was down there last time, and the card worked great. So we got Wendy swapped over this evening, and we're gearing up to close out some of our other bank accounts, and with that comes the headache and hassle of forgetting to swap over your stuff that auto pays or auto bills, and some of that stuff's going to go away anyway when we move, but some of them won't, and so we have to remember to swap those over to our new cards. You kind of find yourself looking into sort of the smallest details of every aspect of what you do regularly and occasionally in your life preparing for a move like this. So, which for me is kind of a cathartic process. I sort of dive into stuff like this and enjoy it. So anyway, I'm going to quit running off this evening, and I'm sure I'll be back with more stuff about what we're doing and what we're preparing to do. And I think Wendy wants us to actually shoot some more kind of live videos of us just talking about what we want to do. So hopefully we'll follow through with that for one of our videos and give you guys an idea of the process, not just of me talking about it, but how we talk about it with each other, and work our way through some of these issues that we're resolving or exploring, and all that good stuff. So anyway, I'm going to go, and we'll catch you next time.